Shalom. I'm just going to get right into it. There is too many Israelites out there teaching other Israelites that they do not have to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of God. There are too many Israelites out there teaching our people that you can't keep the Sabbath, you can't do any aspect of Torah because you are in captivity. I adamantly disagree with my brothers and sisters that teach this, because I believe there are many aspects of Torah that we can keep while in captivity. Can we keep the whole of Torah while in captivity? Of course not. There's certain commandments that are just straight, and what it's saying is certain things can only be done in the land. Then there are other commandments that do not say such. Now let me give you an example. We have commandments that plainly state to plant trees in Israel, to plant trees in the land. That's planting trees in the land. We can only give sacrifices at the temple that can only be erected, be built up in the land, a place where he has called his name to rest. That is where the temple is to be. He's talking about the land of Israel, literally. So I cannot build something here and talk about this as literally the temple of God, because I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I could build a structure here right now, and it will not be the temple of God, because that temple can only rest in the land of Israel, in the land of our fathers. There are certain commands that can only be performed in the land. This we know. But there are commands that we can keep even in captivity. So are some of you telling me that since you are in captivity, you do not honor your parents? Because that is Torah. And you're saying we cannot keep the law, statutes, and commandments in captivity. So are you telling me that you willfully choose to dishonor your parents simply because you are in captivity? Simply because you are not in the land? Do you steal simply because you're not in the land? Do you commit adultery simply because you're not in the land? Something to think about. But I want to get into Torah to let you know why I have the stance that I have. Now, I could be wrong in my understanding of it, but I have something that I gleaned from. So let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 30. Deuteronomy chapter 30, Devarim chapter 30, verses 1. Let's just start at verse 1 and just keep reading and see what we see. Hallelujah. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether the Lord thy God has driven thee, and shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whether the Lord thy God has scattered thee. If any of thou be driven out unto the uttermost parts of the earth, from hence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from hence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee unto the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. Verse 6. And the Lord thy God will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed, to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. Hallelujah. Now we can see here, there is a time where our people, and it's happening now, the Great Awakening, where we are scattered at, we are coming to ourselves. We are acknowledging who we are. We are acknowledging who our God is, and we are returning unto him. But that includes also embracing the laws, statutes, and commandments that we can keep. Because, just allow me to read it again. And one thing I want to do, I want to restore the name of the Creator into the text. As I said before in many of my videos, when you see Lord in all caps, that is talking about the name of the Creator. It's not talking about no Messiah. It is talking about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's talking about the Creator of the heavens and earth. Hallelujah. So allow me to read it again. Then I will start to expound on certain things I want to pull out from the text. Hallelujah. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations where Yahweh thy God has driven thee. We will call them to mind. We will start to remember them. Remember them why? So we can start to observe them. It's not enough to remember to keep the Sabbath holy, but don't keep it holy. I just remember it. We are to remember these things so that we could be found now being obedient to Yahweh. It's not enough just to remember. We remember to actively apply these things in our life. Verse 2. And shall return to Yahweh thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I have commanded thee this day. Thou and thy children with all thy heart and with all thy soul. So we see right here in verse 2, he's saying we shall return to Yahweh and we shall obey his voice. Where are we returning to Yahweh and where are we obeying his voice at? In captivity. In captivity. That is where we're coming to ourselves at. Is in the land of captivity. We are waking up to who we are, to who our God is, and to what is required of us as the people of God. Let us continue reading. Verse 3. That then Yahweh thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations where the Yahweh thy God has scattered thee. We see in verse 3, after verse 1 and 2, there's a verse 3, and it says, and then Yahweh will turn our captivity, meaning he will start to gather us from all the places that we have been scattered, that we have been sent into exile. He will start to gather us back and bring us into the land of promise. But look at verse 4. And it says, if any of thy be driven out unto the uttermost parts of the heaven, from hence will Yahweh thy God gather thee, and from hence will he fetch thee. This is the so-called rapture. Now, the Christians got a different spin on the rapture, but this is the rapture right here. This is where God gathers our people and brings us unto himself by placing us back into the land of promise. That is the closest thing to a rapture you're going to see here. And that is where God gathers us from wherever he has scattered us. He will gather us back unto himself and place us in the land of promise. Let us look at now let's move on to verse 5. And Yahweh thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. Verse 6. And Yahweh thy God will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed to love Yahweh thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. Do you see that? So, my brothers and my sisters, please do not listen to Israelites that are teaching you not to keep the commandments of God, that are telling you not to observe the Sabbath because you are in captivity. How is our continual disobedience going to bring us to our redemption. It was our disobedience that got us exiled. So how is it going to be our continual disobedience that's going to bring us back into the land? We have to return to Yahweh. We have to denounce all other fake gods. We have to return to Yahweh. And in returning to Yahweh, that includes returning to his Torah and keeping them. And then our captivity will be turned, and Yahweh will begin the process of bringing us back into the land. This is all I wanted to share at this time. This is your brother, Yael Ezra Ben Levy. Till next time, peace.